Good evening, everyone. So I'm glad you're all here. There's just basically two official things are going to take. Hey, Nick, sit down. Calling this meeting to order. So now you guys can live happily ever after, and you can say I yelled at you too. So now you have that in common. Hey, where's your daughter and her bow? Did you explain the feet washing to him? I have not. All right. All right. So I'm glad you're all here. It's pretty important. There's a number of things that are important. The report is important. We have made a significant investment down there. And like with everything else, there's ups and downs, there's challenges, but there's great mercies and progress, and we believe salvation that we get to be a part of rejoicing in. So please, pay attention when he's giving his report, even though he's given the report. The second thing is when we get around to voting on Alex, I have to remind everybody, I could do this at that time, but it's a membership vote, it's a paper vote, and he has to get 80% of the vote if we're going to bring him down here. So those are the rules. I also just think that as we hear reports, as we consider hiring somebody new, I can't emphasize enough just the need to as the Bible says, pray without ceasing. And when you see the condition of our world, there's a reason why we should try to do that. We just need to be more of a prayerful people, and that God would show mercy, give us wisdom, provide, and just keep going forward. We have great challenges in our midst, okay? So let me pray. Randy, yes, ma'am? Oh, I forgot about that part. Yeah, we got paper. It has to, according to, we read the Constitution for the first time in like 27 years. So, but it's paper ballot, it's members over the age of 18, and he has to get 80% of the vote. All right, we'll discuss all that when we come to that part. But Julio is going to help, and who else? You're a young man, you can help, and an old man can. You guys going to handle it? Just passing them out? All right, never mind. So let me pray, and then we'll hopefully just enjoy our time together and be encouraged by the work of God. Lord, we thank you that you not only have saved us, but you've called us into service. We get to be co-laborers in the ministry of reconciliation with you, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Help us to recognize the awesome privilege we have, and yet also the responsibility we have to do our part to the building up of the body of Christ and the advancing of his kingdom. We pray that we can be shrewd as serpents and innocent as doves, that we can be salt and light, that we can be both useful and fruitful in the true knowledge of Jesus. And we pray in his name, amen.
That one? Oh, there we go. A couple folks asked me if I was going to say something in response to Lou's comments about me this morning and the knocking. And I said, I don't know why you thought I was that kind of a guy. So I'm just not going to, just not my style. So. All right. Well, thanks again. It's just a pleasure and a real privilege to serve the Lord and to serve this church as your rep down there. And that comes across in a lot of the comments they made. But it was just a short trip. We went down there. We normally go down in June for the graduation of the school. And I went down with Randy and Kathy LeDuc, who are just, I can't say enough about how wonderful they are, just terribly generous, good, generous Christians. That's kind of what our time was. I had to spend the night in Miami. The flights were too expensive to get there in one day. Spent the night in Miami, met them on Thursday. They had been there a few days up at the beach, and we met Thursday and Friday, spent time with the kids. We went to the school graduation on Saturday and the little ceremony, and it had pizza and a bike ride, which was exciting in the afternoon. And then the Sunday dedication of the new church, the church plant. So that was pretty fun. And a little time with Olga in the mornings. So I think everybody here so read this real fast because I don't want to waste time. Lou said I had to hurry because it's a business meeting. So you all know what we're doing. That's the basic where we started and where we are now, what we're currently funding. Basically the school, and then which we're funding now. And note the very last one. We've met a lot of needs over the years and requests. We're going to talk about a couple of things we've done for the foundation and for an individual or two, and I think it's important. The seminary, the academy, that's the background of it. It hasn't happened for a couple years. We thought we were going to start it up again in the fall, but they only had 5 applicants. Well, they had 7 or 8, and then 3 bailed out, and they're not even getting Haitians to come over, and they're just, across the border there. So the country's just a lot of turmoil with travel and issues, I'm sure, with funding. So there's no seminary this year. Hopefully next year. Pastor Juan Jose is going to be running it. Pastor Arocha is almost retired completely, doing a few things. And Walter, our Venezuelan buddy who we met as a seminary graduate, he's going to be running the operations of the academy once it gets going. And they might even have classes in the new church and have them live over in by where the kids are. Here's the school. You know the background. A couple things I'll point out. I've mentioned Konani before. They're the adoption agency, the child care. They take all the abused kids and they can house them for a while, then they have to find a home for them. A couple things to note. This is one of the 2 biggest children's homes in the country. There's about 400 homes or orphanages in the DR, and they're all anywhere from 10, 20 kids, or I think there's one with 50 or 60, but it's pretty good. It's well known. Olga works well with Konani. When I was there in March, we met with the Konani folks, and he mentioned that, the guy told me they adopted, there were 123 kids adopted in 2021. And if you skip down at the very last line, 31 of those were from the foundation that we support. Most of them were real little, and some of them were only in there for a day or two till the babies kind of come and go. There were 2 or 3 babies that were there in March that weren't there this past week for whatever reason, so they were temporary. There were some kids I remember that had been in a home a couple of years that were adopted, so that's good, but it's generally the younger ones. In this program, she has the host families. It's kind of like a foster program with the intent to adopt, although there's no funding from the government, but it's a pretty good program, and they have had some success with local adoptions. I'm sorry, one more thing. International adoptions, like you see there, only 25 of them, all of them from Europe. For whatever reason, the workers over there get like 3 months vacation, so they can afford to stay the 2 or 3 months that it takes to get a kid. So that's where they're going. This is the school that was originally, if you recall, we were paying for the tuition for the kids to go to the Rocha's Church's school. It became a lot more and more of them, and so we just were sending a set amount. And then going to that school became problematic, so she rented a building 30 minutes away. We're taking the kids there. That's becoming an issue. The plans were to have a new school get started next year once they got $500,000 to get it going. And the Ledukes were going to talk to the Monastinas. Anyway, on my way to, when the guy picked me up at the airport, Jonathan picked me up, he mentioned the new school. I said, what are you talking about? And they've started construction on the new school. The Ledukes didn't know it, I didn't know it, but the new school has started and they're going to have classes in August. And I'll get to how that happened. She's going to save $6,500 a month in transportation and just bus maintenance and all that's involved, and rent, obviously. So this is a really good deal. I'm really excited about seeing it. And the new church, the Grace and Hope Baptist Church, it's part of this overall idea to reach the entire community. And I got my usual maps up there. I'll show you what the community looks like. And it's kind of Randy Leduc's idea, too, was to have a Christian community. And it's pretty neat. They're reaching out. The kids are taking food and clothing when they can to the local residents. And so they're just trying to get them involved. And, of course, they've been coming. They've had a few people come to the tent services. So we're hoping that little by little they'll build up the congregation. They started construction earlier. Randy Leduc was going to pay for half of it. And if Rafa, the Monastina's son, would pay for the other half. And then he told Oscar, if you preach the first sermon, I'll pay the whole thing. Oscar agreed, and then the Leducs paid for the whole church. So yeah, it was quite, it's incredible. So, there we go. So Santiago goes all the way out over here, okay? This is the other band, La Otra Banda. This is where they're located. They really are isolated. There's one bridge, there's a real high traffic area through here, and it just, you can't get here unless you cross the river when it's down low. This river is like the Platte. Normally day to day it looks, like the Platte, just like a muddy stream, but I remember a couple years ago down near Louisville how the Platte flooded really bad, and that's what this thing can do. So this is where they are. This is the foundation right here, and this is the community that they're reaching. And this is a fairly recent one because you can see that's the church going up. This is the school going up. This area is going to be 300 apartments, and the owner of the thing goes to the Orochas church. And so Olga has 11 of these reserved, and they're going to be a rent to buy for like maybe some of the staff. Right now, there's probably all these houses over here. Probably about 10 of them are occupied by foundation staff, mostly the Venezuelans. So they're all close by, which is a good thing. This is a great drone shot she sent me. Let's see here. You can see the admin. Is this working? The admin building, the warehouse. This is the extension of the boys' dorm. There's more construction going up. You have mostly the girls' dorm back here, the multi-use center, the kitchen. So this is all, that's the major construction is done. This road here, there's a Papillion house right there. And right there's the entrance, a little pathway to where the school and the new church is. Just a look at the entrance to the foundation. And this is going to be the hall of the butterflies. And the plan is to put those little butterflies that we saw before with people's names on them. Those have been generous and given money. They're going to be recognized with some butterflies. And this is the clinic. That's where the old admin office used to be. And then you can see she started on the butterflies up here and it's going to spread on down. That's the entrance to the admin. There's a couple shots inside. I was there before they were all at work yet on Friday morning. It's very nice, open area. This is the clinic. Randy, of course, being a doctor, wanted to show me the doctor area. And then on duty on Friday was Gabriela Arocha. She's the Arocha's granddaughter, a recent medical school graduate, and she's working a couple days a week at the foundation. She's a real sweetie. So I'm glad to see her doing that. I cringed just walking in there and had to sit in the chair. Fully equipped dental office. This is the soccer field. I don't know who the guy was, but somebody from Santo Domingo, his son, I think in his 20s or 30s, died of cancer, and he was like a big soccer player. And so in his memory, the guy is putting in it's some kind of a artificial turf system. And you can see, yeah, I'm kidding. And it's got, because we saw like the drainage lines and stuff, so that's going to be really cool. Their soccer team has done pretty well in some of the local competition. And we're heading out to the back 40 there. That's the guardhouse. A couple of Haitians live there. And we're back. It's one of Rodolfo, one of the Venezuelans I've talked about before. He's got like 15 dogs. He's got 3 or 4 in his house. He's got a bunch in the pen. And they're the vicious guard dogs. If we stop too long, this in particular laid down and rolled over in front of our feet and wanted a belly rub. So I don't know how good of guard dogs they are, but you got a couple guys living in that shack for security, and it's been a while since they've had anybody cross the river and kill the animals. That's Sandy. He's been there 4 or 5 years. Great guy. We saw I can never remember one plant from another, but those I believe are platanos. And then we have some yucca out in the back area there. And of course the chickens, they get about 50 eggs a day from the chickens. I didn't see any quail. He said, yeah, they had quail and they were using quail eggs for the little kids, but the rats got into the quail pen and, killed the quail. So they don't have any quail. Olga wants to get a peacock. I'm not sure why, but it would be a decoration basically. They still have about 200 rabbits, and because they breed, like rabbits. And they sell a lot of them, and some when they get a little bit bigger than this, they make a nice meal apparently. So, yeah. The bicycles, Randy and Kathy bought, I think, about 100 bicycles a couple of years ago, and it looks all neat and orderly, but when we went to get them to go ride, they were in a big pile. They were missing handlebars, missing seats, missing pedals. The gears didn't work. They couldn't find the tire pump, but we managed to get a bike ride in anyway. So they need some serious work to make these things go, but they got bikes. And they can't ride anymore around the soccer field area, so they're letting the older ones go out into the street. And we'll get to that later. I have no idea why he's wearing plastic around him. I didn't bother to ask, but he's the lettuce guy, and he's in charge of cutting up the platanos and preparing the yuca and all that. And anyway, they're going to plant this big old area with lettuce once it gets a little bit bigger. So they're raising some food for their own consumption, and of course, obviously saves them some money. Playground's looking good, and there's, again, this is just for the little kids. So the bigger kids are ending up playing in the multi-use area. This is another part of the playground, and that's a Haitian guy named Ronnie and his wife and kids live there. Again, it's just this little shack. It's above the water treatment plant, which is right now capable of producing water, and they can do it in case of an emergency, but they're waiting on some license to permit them to do so, and it's been through 2 governments, and they keep getting people to come out and check it out, so it's just kind of frustrating, because not only can they produce their own water and won't have to buy it, they can sell it at a much reduced price to the local community, or give it away as needed. But anyway, that's where Ronnie lives. These 2 young ladies, I showed you a picture last year, Adriana on the left and her sister Melissa on the right. They live in Savannah. They were down there for about 8 months, or the older one was. And then she's like basically working with mission trips from Savannah, and she comes down when she can, and accompanies the mission trips. There was a Bible school being conducted by Faith Bible Church from Sharpsburg, just a little bit west of Atlanta. Really great folks. They've been there 3 or 4 years in a row now. She came down just to be with them, to help them, and then her church came down. They've been there since Wednesday. So she's just been a real blessing, and just prayers for her. And that's Anna Udelka in the middle there. The Bible school folks, they also did some work with the kids, some handicrafts. And, girls were making Jell-O. I walked up behind them and I whispered, I said, so do you eat any of it when no one's looking? And I got this little quick nod, so kids are kids. That's Kathy with one of the folks that we ran into there. None of the kids we knew, they're all over at Bible school when we were doing this, so we'll catch up with them later. The little sweetie that we ran into, yeah. I was going to do that with my hair when I get a chance. I'm not sure that's actually a girl, but that's what the shirt says. So I don't know. Anyway, cute little kid. They were so there's no toys in there. And I said, where's the toys? He said, well, the room that they're normally was being cleaned, so they're just in there hanging around. But then I saw them in there later, and they still had no toys. And I asked where the toys are. Well, they're locked up. So it's kind of missing the point of toys. So I'm not sure what the deal is, but they have some toys in other places, I guess. So this is so common. They don't go anywhere without being in a line. Just helps them keep orderly. Okay, so if you recall, Lou brought this up, and I think he showed the little plaque there. This is the adaptation and quarantine area that the Grills graciously donated to have it modified. This is where the kids come, and they come off the street. They need to acclimate. They need to be checked out for their health. They're taught some manners. They just can't throw them into the gen pop. They just can't throw them in with the rest of the kids until they've had some adaptation. So this is what they're doing here. And that plaque up on the right, as it turns out, so it's the only plaque in the whole place that's in both languages. And I think that's because when Gail sent me what she wanted to say, I put it down and I translated it, but I sent them both languages so to make sure that I got the Spanish right. And I guess whatever I say goes, because now it's in both languages on the wall, so that's pretty cool. It's the only one in there with both languages. This is one of the kids in the Adaptation Center. It's been remodeled. One of the big things they have left to do is the main floor, but it's kind of problematic because that's the entry. I'm not sure how they're going to sort that out, but these are the kids that are just, waiting to get in with the rest of the kids. So this little girl here, the one holding a little baby, I'm going to come back to her a little bit later, but just a little kid. There were some little ones there. They were all asleep, and we're tired of not waking them up. This is one of the new rooms. It's got new floors, new walls, new beds. It's just 100% better than when it's. I caught this guy with his pants down. I didn't realize it until I'd already caught the picture, but he didn't seem to mind. More little babies. This little guy is a cutie. I saw this guy about a half a dozen times. We became buds. Look at that look. The Dukes are really good. You always were on the floor playing with them. Of course, if you take their picture, they have to see it. So it takes a while to get through all this. And we took turns throwing them all up in the air. And you can't do one without doing all of them. Some of the older ones were in a little classroom that was built in the side there, and this is a teacher of some kind, and she's trying to teach them. They came in even worse educated than, or as bad than the other ones, so they're trying to catch up a little bit, teach them to read, and she was teaching them some Bible songs. This little girl was smiling and happy until I picked her up, but her name is Rosita. So that's Rosita, and I picked her up for a reason, because this is her mother. She had Rosita when she was 14, and the father of Rosita is also her stepfather. So anyway. So, and at some point, I don't know the whole sequence things, but her mother died and her dad also. So anyway, she was taken, thankfully, by Konani. Olga doesn't normally take in girls who have had kids, because that's like a whole different kind of kid, a thing to deal with if she throws them in with the other 14-year-olds. But she had nowhere to go, so Olga took her and her baby in, and she's living, I don't know how long it's going to last, because she's stuck in this one part of the foundation. But anyway, she's like a 12-year-old, it seems like, but she's got this kid, but she's in there, and she's learning, and she's well fed, so just prayers for that situation. There's one more little happy kid in place there. And again, that's the last thing you have to do is the main room, the flooring of it. All right, the Papillion House, that place is awesome. I made sure the folks in Atlanta knew why it was called the Papillion House, so we go out of our way to explain that to folks. So here's the aerial view of it. Remember the bus? Don't worry about the bus. It's still there. You can't see it from the outside, but it's still there. Right there, that round dot, right in the middle, it's supposed to be a hot water tank, but it's apparently just an ornament, because we didn't have hot water for 5 days, so it is what it is. This area, Olga had made it where the bus is, used to be a patio for people at the Papillion House, but that doesn't have access to it. Anyway, this area right at the top here, is this thing, I'm not getting it up high enough. Anyway, that is, she had that torn down. The LeDukes paid for that property in the house. They had torn down, and she's going to make a patio area into that. There's Adriana again. That's the logo that Jared Sloger did, front and center. These are these kids are from Santo Domingo. They're Dominicans, and they came from a church in Santo Domingo, and they came up to help the church from Atlanta as their translators. So really nice kids. Here's some of the kids from Faith Bible Church in Atlanta. It was all decorated for the 4th of July. That brick wall in the back is the wall you used to be able to see the bus out of, and now that got all blocked up. They're good kids. They called me sir. It didn't happen around here much, so I appreciated it. And then that's looking out on that area that's been, house was torn down, and she's showing us what her plans are. Maybe some kind of a roof over it. Maybe if they get the money, they can even put a second floor and have like a conference center up there. So, and she's telling this to the LeDukes for a reason, I'm sure. So that's the back of the Papillion House, and where the bus was that blue fence. All right, so at this meeting, we finally sat down a little bit and said, okay, how'd the school thing come about? And she said, well, she's having trouble with the landlord at the school they were going to, and he wanted to raise the rent, and he wanted it back, and just being a jerk. And about the same time, the government offered to whoever qualified, I'm sure what the qualifications were, but I don't know, institutions, offered a loan, a property loan, a building loan, at 8%. Normally it's 16%. So 8%, she got a real good deal for, I think, the $200,000 for half what she needed. And she took it. And I said, well, how are you going to get that back? She said, well, I'm just going to trust God to give it back, or Randy LeDuc, as it turns out. So so right there in those about 15 minutes meeting, Randy and Kathy agreed to fund the rest of the school building. So just, again, real blessings. They've just been real blessings, and just incredibly generous. And then she'll get some more money, I'm sure, from the Bravo family. But so now we have a new school going up, and that's going to be great. So looking down, that's looking all the way down at the far end. You can see the far end, and then I just wanted to show this. This is a little restaurant that went up in a vacant lot. The people that put it up, their daughter teaches at school, and she's married to Jonathan, who's become my bodyguard and best friend down there. And Jonathan is a guy that he's just like this incredibly hardworking employee, but also after working 10, 12 hours with her, he had to go drive an Uber at night to make ends meet and to pay off his car and some other things. So thankfully, to the generosity of of the grills and the Mankeys. Some of the money from the memorial funds went to pay off an individual debt, which benefited the foundation because now he's working pretty much full-time there. Olga just loves him. He's just absolutely dedicated to serving here. Just a good man. He's just a crack up. We give each other a lot of grief, as you might expect. So anyway, they opened this little restaurant up, and there's the father-in-law in the back there working. And Olga said she doesn't recommend that we eat there because our stomachs might not be able to handle it. So she's probably right. This is the path. This is maybe it's 100 yards, 150 yards between the street and to where the school is. And this is the project that the kids, the young men, were working on from Atlanta. And it's just that pathway to get. This is what the kids. It's all done now. It was all filled in by when we left. So that's me working with the wheelbarrow. The Haitians who are supposed to be doing this, they love it because they're not doing it. They're just standing there making sure the cement's at the proper texture. And then you got the kids from Atlanta. They're hauling all the stuff. The guy talking to Randy is the elder. I forgot his name. Anyway, he's in charge of the group. And then the guy on the far right, Jose, he and his wife are Dominicans from Santo Domingo. They live in Atlanta now, good Christian folks, and they're the ones bringing a lot of their groups down every year. Just good people. And then, of course, it's me with the wheelbarrow. So, all right, so then we're in that's the path. That's the green gate into where the school is. And again, this thing just went up. I was there in March, and there was nothing there. So it's going to be done in time for August. The beams she's got from some other construction project, and they've been repurposed and used them in the school. I think that's the admin building. And that's the church in the background. So they already started moving in the stuff from the old school into undercover to protect it from the rain. And here we're at the church. Now again, this is Thursday. So it was hard to imagine that there was going to be a dedication and a service there on Sunday, and it was. They had it all cleaned up, looking good. I didn't put in a picture of the other ramps. This is the ramp to get up to where the gate is, and then there's another ramp. You know how for our rules, we have to have ramps that like do this. You need about 12 of them. Their ramps do this. So there is no way one person could even push somebody up to these ramps. So you're going to need two people pushing people up, but it'll work. And when they got done, for whatever, they figured out at some point, they put the fence up and the gate, and then we started building the church. The gate wasn't right in front of the front part of the church, so then they had to dig that all out and move the gate. So anyway, it's looking pretty good now. They were doing Bible school when we got there, and this is when I ran into, started seeing some of the older kids. This is Yuki. I had a picture with her last time. She's from Japan. She's going to be there a total of 3 years. She teaches math. Her Spanish is reasonable. Her English is non-existent. First thing she said was, "Oh, we have matching shirts." So I was telling, I want to share the story with you because if I can get through it. About four years ago, maybe, Bob Sanderson was giving me grief because he noticed it in these pictures. About every picture I was in, he had on an orange shirt. He says, "You have a lot," and I didn't realize that. I just have a lot of orange shirts. So he was teasing me about having so many orange shirts. So when I was packing for this trip, I said, "By golly," I was thinking to Bob, we couldn't make the funeral. I said, I'm going to make sure I have an orange shirt so that he can see, so that Sandy can see it. So that's me, my orange shirt, and Yuki. And there's sweet old Francesca, ran up, gave me a hug. It's Westland's sister. Gave me a hug and looked up in those nice eyes and said, "When am I going to the U.S.?" I said, "Well, you're probably not." So it's better than the last time I saw her. The first thing she said was, "Give me your watch." So anyway, about 30 kids asked when they were going to go to the U.S., if they're going to the U.S., and the embassy, or the consulate, our consulate, is open up again, but I just don't see them going this summer. So the folks from Howe, who I traveled with back in March, they may try to bring some kids back in December, so we'll pray that works out. Walter, his wife Cherry, the little one in the middle, and Isis, you've seen them before. They're just, the Venezuelans, they're just hardworking people. I just can't say enough about them. And Walter has been leading Bible studies at the church. He'll kind of fill in until Oscar's church picks a full-time pastor. I'm not sure it'll be Walter, but just a great guy. I was telling the LeDukes how when we first met him, when Lou and I were down there, Walter, being the suck-up that he is, he wore a Nebraska football jersey. I was telling Randy and Kathy about that, and then Walter says, "Hey, by the way," he says, I need another, he says, "if it's not too much money," he says, "can you bring me another Nebraska jersey down?" I said, well, they don't cost anything now. You can get them for nothing practically. I said, but whatever they cost, I'm not spending one dime on you. So any of you folks want to send Walter a jersey, let me give it to me. I'll pack it in with my underwear when I go in February, and I'll give it to him. So then he was asking about football, college football, and I was talking a little bit about it. He says, what? He says, explain to me what a bowl game is. He said, I don't know what a bowl game is. I said, it's too hard to explain. I said, anyway, the Nebraska folks don't know what a bowl game is either, so don't worry about it. So, Vacation Bible School. Noah's Ark was the theme. One of the girls asked me to get in there and dance with them. I said, you don't want to see that. Nobody does. So they were having a great time. This was, I think, Saturday morning. This was the group from Atlanta. And while a bunch of them were doing Bible school with the kids and projects, and the boys were hauling cement along with me, a couple of them painted this mural. And oddly enough, back on the far right there, that's a little thing up, they call that Noah's Ark. That's where boys used to have Bible studies with some of their teachers and stuff. So that was their project. That came out pretty good. That's Paula, who stayed with the Lars in 2017, and her little baby, Emily. Now we're at the graduation. Carmen and Maria, they were the two that were here 2 years ago, I think. They stayed with the Hetzlers, and then Carmen became problematic, and then the Nelsons were kind enough to take her in. They're sweeties. There's the little preschoolers. And for 2 hours. This thing lasted for 2 hours. And they were good. The adults were more fidgety than they were. Little boys, little girls. Edwin, you remember Edwin? The little Edwin that was here with the Egan's. He's now Big Edwin. That's Emilio on the left there. They brought in the flag. We'll hear from Edwin later. I mean, this is the kindergartners that graduated. They were all sweeties. And the sixth graders, they graduated. We're doing their anthem. And that's Bianelli Tibio. Bianelli, if you recall, was going to come in 2017 and stay with the Slogers, and she broke her leg playing soccer. So she didn't get to travel. She did get to Indiana a couple times. She's madly in love with this young boy named Joseph, who I've spoken to a couple times to make sure he understands the rules. In New Jersey, he's been down on mission trips where they met. His parents have been down to meet her. They hope to get married sometime. She wants to get up for the summer to see him, but it's going to be hard to get a visa. But anyway, she's a sweetie. And I'm sorry, and her speech included thanks to all of you, to our church, to our pastor, for all that we have done for her in her time there. So let me pass that on. And they gave out the awards. They gave out some legitimate awards to the top students in the different grades, and then the A students and the B students. And anybody that's down there like us, you get to participate. As it turns out, these are participation awards. They had to invent categories. Every kid has to get something, or it's just going to be a problem. So it is what it is. I don't know what I'm presenting. They cleaned their plates today. I don't know what it is, but anyway, they were happy to get it. So there's Yuki. She got the Teacher of the Year, so she's pretty happy. They're all happy for her. The little guy that Olga's holding, I have never ever seen that kid. He's got. I think he has some issues. He's got a big old scar on his face, and he's just always unhappy. He's always in trouble, but when he's with Olga, he brightens up a bit, so it's just always good to see that. And then the lady in the back on Olga's left, that's Raquel Firpo. She's one of the two ladies from the Roches Church that actually comes and helps out. So it's just as big a church as they got, they don't get a lot of help. This is Carmen from Venezuela and her two kids. Her name is Beautiful Hope, is her name as it translates, and her son Alexander. Her and her husband, the kids, came to the DR about 3 years ago, and the husband left them 2 days after they got here. She worked in human resources for an airline, and that's what she does for Olga now. She had us for dinner when I was there in March, and just a sweet, sweet lady, and she was just in tears watching her daughter graduate and get her prizes, so that was kind of neat. Another Venezuelan that's working hard there. So the kids wanted to go for a bike ride, and they can normally only go up to where the property ends, or just in the streets, and it has to be the older kids, and you have to have one of their supervisors with them. But like I said, we managed to scrabble together enough bikes that worked, and we took them for about a 6 or 7 mile bike ride. We went up to when you hit that yellow road, there's actually a bike trail that goes up a couple miles and comes back, and you cross this bridge. But they kept asking me if I was tired. I said, no, I'm okay. But their seats were too low. They'd never gone more than a mile before, so we gave them a good workout. We had a great time. That's the bridge. This looks like this peaceful bridge in the countryside. It's just a massive, massive traffic bridge, and they were not allowed to cross it because there's too much traffic. And I was talking to the older guys, the supervisors, and they're adults. And I said, well, there's pedestrian walks on either side. Like they never noticed that. So we said, well, they're too narrow to ride your bike, so we're just going to walk them. So we taught them how to walk their bikes across the bridge. And I was worried about we'd never see some of the kids again, but they all came back. So, and then we had pizza, courtesy of Randy and Kathy. And that's always the highlight of any visit is when they get to have pizza and ice cream. There's Wesleyan. Wesleyan got in some trouble. I'm not sure what it was, but apparently repented seriously. And he looked like a different kid to me. He acted like a different kid. He actually acted glad to see us, made eye contact, and was very pleasant with us, and just went out of his way to be our buddy. So that was really good to see. And he works at Bravo as a stock boy in the supermarket. And then I think just on weekends and on Sundays anyway, he's in charge of like second and third graders. So he's got a little more responsibility than he's had before. Just picture the kids in the church. There's no longer any evening services at Oscar's church, so they're going to start going to the new church in the evenings, and they'll still go to this church in the mornings. And Kathy with a couple little girls, they just love to sit with the visitors, obviously. This is the dedication at 5:30 Sunday afternoon. Let's see it better here. We're getting ready for the Pastor Juan Jose on the right. I'm here with his eyes closed. Sorry. And Juan Jose, he just gave an excellent, just a great sermon. I told him, I said, you've really done well. You've really improved. And I said, you preached a lot like Lou. One of those guys that have that talent. They can take a good 20-minute sermon and cram it into an hour. This is Jonathan, his wife Catherine. I've never seen Jonathan with a dry shirt because he's their IT guy. He was the photographer of some of this stuff. He just does everything. In fact, I got a text at 1:40 in the morning when I was in my hotel room in Miami from Jonathan with a picture showing me where he was at the airport waiting for me at that moment. Olga had told him to pick me up at 12:30. And no AM or PM was mentioned, so he went at 12:30 at night. He was, like I said, he got over it. He was a pretty funny guy, but he came and picked me up at 12:30 the next day. Just a wonderful guy, and I got to tell you, he was just in tears. As was his wife when I saw her later, thanking you all for the help he got. This was a life changer for him, and it just gives him more time to spend with Olga. Whenever she hurt herself, which is occasionally, like when I was there in March and she fell, was laid up for like 10 days, she couldn't drive. So not only did he have his full job to do, he was driving her around all the time. So anyway, he's very grateful. Just the kids are here at the attending the service. Little girls had new clothes. Pastor Oscar Rocha, and the guy in the middle, I forgot his name, he's the visiting pastor in the local area. Guy on the right is Juan Francisco. He was a graduate of the seminary, I think maybe the last time we were down there, in fact. And he's now a pastor up in Jarabacoa. And there was another pastor that was at this event that I didn't recognize him, was a seminary graduate, and he was playing in a little band they had, and I just didn't recognize him. I didn't get a picture of him. So, like that slide early on said, there's still about 150, 160 of these guys out there in the ministry, so that's good to know. All right, we had a little song there and some prayer. Then Randy and Kathy cut some strings and revealed the 1 Timothy 1:15, Christ came into the world to save the sinners. Yeah, Walter led the music. A little crowd shot there. Oscar preached as he promised. Oscar's got a back issue. He can't be on his feet for more than 15 minutes. Like I said, he's not preaching anymore. He's doing some little sermonettes. He's doing a class in one of the Christian universities. While we were at dinner Thursday night, we got the Monastinas were in Spain, and they arrived at the airport in Santo Domingo, and they texted Oscar with this picture. In the Santo Domingo airport, up on one of the screens, was one of Oscar's 5-minute sermons being broadcast at the airport. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, that was pretty neat. It looks kind of like a cartoon, but it's actually a live thing. So we got a kick out of that. There's Wesleyan with the two American girls and Bianelli again. So we had these little plastic champagne glasses. And these four, they didn't see me, and they were like toasting each other, pretending they were toasting. And I should have taught them one arm around the other. I forgot. But anyway, they're cute. That's Francesca on the left again. And again, we were there about an hour or so. Last shot at church. right, that's it for that. And I want to, if they'll get this set up, I couldn't get it, it didn't play out of in the slideshow, but hang on one second. This is later at the end of the graduation. They're all going to be speaking in English. Only 3 or 4 Americans there, but they're speaking in English. I hope you can understand it. Pay attention in particular to Edwin at the end, because I think he's the most clear. Okay.
Good morning to everyone present today. With a simple word, I want to thank each of the teachers and directors for the support they have given me and my classmates.
Thank you for everything necessary. Help me when I need, comfort me when I was sad, be my friends in the good times and in the bad times. And especially, thank you for putting up with me, which did not easy at all.
I want to thank my boys, daddies, and friends for always being there to support you. Thank God and to Dominican for giving me the opportunity to be here in this institution that turned out more than a family for me.
There I will say, if a child is trained up in the right way, even when he's old, he will be not turned away from it. Proverbs 22:6. And last but not least, I want to thank Randy and Kathy Ledoux, Randy James in representation of Pastor Luke's lawyer in Papillion Baptist Church in Papillion, Nebraska, for their hearts of service showing us God's love towards us with their actions. They have been a blessing to our lives, and for this we are always grateful.
I thought that was sweet. It was really heartfelt, you could tell. That's it. Well, it's not too bad, I hope. Any questions? I know we got things to do, but you can hit me up later if you have any questions. If not, I'm done. Thank you again for allowing me the privilege to do this for us. Thanks.
For those of you who are relatively new around here, I'm going to tell you just a quick story. When we built this building, we moved in I think May or June of 2001. And so the fall of that year, we were going to do our budget for 2002. And the years prior to that, there was just a whole lot of other stuff going on, and missions was just not a priority for different reasons. But as we're putting the budget together for 2002, we realized that our monthly building payment was more than our annual missions giving. And we thought, well, that's not right. So our goal was to get our missions giving and our building payment on the same plateau. So it meant we got to figure out where we're going to give. And we didn't want to just give to entities. We wanted to give relationally. We wanted to go meet people, know people, and invest in people, not just programs or things. So in 2006, I believe it was, February of 2006, you guys sent me to the Dominican Republic, and that's where I first met Oscar and Olga. And it was just kind of an amazing thing of how quickly our hearts just like gelled, and how how free they were to ask us for stuff, and how free we were to give them stuff, because that's why I went. So it started with $12,000 that we gave them to remodel the third floor of the church building and buy equipment so they could start their high school. And the high school became, then was their seminary, and then the children's home started with us helping rent an apartment with 7 girls, and to where now I think in the last 10 years, over 800 children have spent at least one night at the foundation. The permanent residency is around 150-ish, give or take. So it's been an amazing thing to watch unfold. And you know, Jean's favorite song is "It Only Takes a Spark." Isn't it? Something like that. But it was just amazing, right? This one little "will help you with the school" became this whole amazing endeavor over the last, I guess it's been 16 years now. That's really quite amazing. So I'm very thankful, and it just shows you what can happen. God obviously has brought other people into the equation, but because of what was going on here, we got that thing going, and then the Randy LeDukes of the world came in and jump-started it, and it just continues to go. Olga is a wonderful lady. She can be a pretty hard taskmaster. So pray for the people who work there. They work their rear ends off. And sometimes they work, not sometimes, most of the time, they work underpaid and underappreciated. So help them just in your prayers to remember God's not unjust to forget what people do for his namesake. And then maybe we can do a little bit more. And like helping that guy pay his car off, to me was just a no-brainer when they're working that hard. Years ago, when we were engaged in a little bit of a Haitian ministry, there was a guy in our church who, he just thought sometimes we give too much away and people need to earn it, you know, and you work hard for a living, right? And, you know, in America, it's different than it is almost every place else in the world. In America, if you work hard for a living, usually you make a good living. But there are other places where they work harder than we do. It's just not the same economy. It's not the same reality. It's just, so it's not about just working hard. It's sometimes just about people being kind and gracious. And I'm thankful that I pastor here, where over the years we've proven we're not perfect, but we're pretty kind and gracious and very generous. So I'm thankful for you guys and what we've been able to do. And who knows how many of these little kids we'll see in heaven someday because of what we started 16 years ago. All right? So that's that. Okay, we're going to talk about Alex and his wife and whether or not we want to call him to ministry. So let me give you just a couple of my perspectives. When I stood up here, was it just last Sunday?